When we think about network-attached storage, we mostly think about backups. And most people hate thinking about backups because they feel like a chore. Until the day they lose all their data. Might this be you? It totally was me. But anyways, there's more to a NAS than just that, even if you're just a gamer. Especially if you care about data privacy and control over your own assets, which is becoming more and more important with the rise of artificial intelligence. A NAS can be a media center, a place for installer backups, a private photo and video library, a mod database, a shared game library, basically your own personal cloud storage, and even small server for things like Docker, where you can run apps for home automation, for example. And of course, it's a place where you finally store backups of your more important data. All of that comes with none, or at least significantly fewer privacy concerns than using commercial cloud services, and keeps working when you're offline, which matters if your internet connection is slow or unreliable. So let me show you how all of that works and why I think this specific little box here is a good choice. I already have a NAS under my desk back there that I use purely for backups, but I wanted a second one for mixed use. The funny part is that I had already settled on the UGREEN DH4300 PLUS when, out of nowhere, UGREEN contacted me and asked if I'd like to review one. So that's why this video is now sponsored by UGREEN. As always, there's no editorial influence. I only take sponsorships where I can say exactly what I think about the product. So let me tell you why I wanted one in the first place. First of all, the build quality is quite good for the price. It's mostly plastic, but it feels sturdy. The footprint is small, but there's enough space for up to 4 hard drives, and the lid is magnetic, which makes installation surprisingly convenient. The rubber decoupled drive trays are plastic as well, but they do their job properly and click into place nicely. I've stuffed 4 Iron Wolf drives into the NAS and it's still running quietly with almost no vibration transfer to the desk. That's not something you see very often in this price range. Then there's the SoC, meaning the CPU, GPU and memory of the unit. It's an energy efficient ARM processor with 8 GB of RAM, which is more than enough for typical home use. More interesting are the integrated co-processors though. It has an NPU, a neural processing unit, which can recognize faces and objects in your photo library. That happens locally, which is an advantage, so none of your data leaves the system. The second one is a VPU, a video processing unit, which can transcode video. That means streaming video over your home network works smoothly, even on weaker client devices. It also has an HDMI port, so you can plug it directly into a TV and use it as a local media player if you want. On top of that, it's quite energy efficient. I measured roughly 5 watts in idle and around 28 watts under full network load with 4 hard drives installed. Those are quite good numbers, which means the NAS barely shows up on your electricity bill. In most people's use cases, it's idling most of the time, at least in mine, so the average power draw probably ends up close to a single LED bulb running continuously. Cooling is also super quiet, especially in silent mode, and my drives never went above 41 degrees Celsius at 24 degrees ambient. Here's the temperature after 1 hour of constantly writing data. That's perfectly fine as well. So now, what am I actually doing with it? Or better, what could you do with it? First of all, I use it as a photo and video dump. The moment I come home and my phone connects to my Wi-Fi, it automatically syncs all the new photos and videos into the phone library on the NAS. That's also nice for content creation because everything is available instantly on your local network. This is especially useful if I need to record some additional footage while I'm already editing a video. Since everything stays local, there's no waiting for uploads to finish in some cloud before you can start working with your files. You can also sync over mobile data if you want by using a UGREEN ID login. In that case, the connection is brokered through UGREEN servers, so you do lose a bit of privacy there. In practice though, this is mostly just a handshake to establish the connection and tunnel the data back to your NAS at home. The actual transfer is still peer-to-peer, Otherwise, their servers would probably melt the moment 10,000 people start uploading 4K videos at the same time. A nice touch is that you can choose which folders the local AI image detection runs on. For example, you can let it scan your shared photo library but exclude your personal folders. If you turn on SMB, all of the shared folders can be mapped as network drives in Windows for quick access. UGREEN software doesn't let you share the data inside your personal folder, which is a bit of a limitation. On the other hand, having a dedicated, pre-configured shared folder is actually quite convenient. And I get why they went for that kind of simplicity on a consumer NAS. Personally, I'm totally fine with it. Speaking of convenience, UGREEN has put a lot of effort into their software. That's another reason I wanted one of these in the first place. It's not as feature-rich as systems from competitors that have been around for like 20 years or more, but it covers all the basics perfectly. But more importantly, you can tell that the software is still relatively new. It feels lightweight and responsive, and it's available on almost all platforms except Linux. What's also noticeable is that the software clearly had smartphones in mind from the beginning. A lot of long-established NAS vendors originally built their interfaces for PC and only later adapted them to mobile, sometimes with, let's say, mixed results. That's not the case here. The mobile app feels properly integrated instead of being an afterthought. You can configure and run the NAS from a web interface, from a Windows or Mac app, or directly from a mobile phone. In practice, you don't even need to own a PC at all to run this NAS. Yes, that's possible with other manufacturers too, but here it actually feels smooth and straightforward. One nice detail is that the same software runs across all UGREEN NAS models. There are no artificial feature limitations on the lower end devices like this one. The photo and video library also runs natively inside the Windows app as well as on the phone. It even comes with its own integrated video player, which is surprisingly reliable and runs smoothly on both platforms. Normally, these kinds of bundled apps feel more like marketing material than a serious tool. Here it's different, and that honestly surprised me in a positive way. Most of the everyday stuff you do works very conveniently. For example, you can put all your game installation files into a shared folder and let friends and family access them over your local network, so you don't have to download everything twice or 3 times. You can also keep them as a backup if you have a slow internet connection but still need to free up space in your Steam library. If you want to share photos, videos, or anything else with friends and family, that's also super simple and done with a few clicks. Links can have an expiry date, and you can also set download permissions. Another thing you can do is run home automation via Docker. In my case, I'm running Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi, but the DH4300 PLUS has more than enough performance to run that on the side as well. Most of my home automation is now managed locally, aside from voice recognition, which still runs through Alexa. But yeah, running things like Home Assistant or Jellyfish via Docker is an option, and it works. The ARM processor has its limits though. Don't expect to run something like a Minecraft server on this. Where the DH4300 PLUS falls a bit short is the amount and depth of its software features. While the media management is top-notch, automatic cloud backups are still somewhat limited and only support a handful of larger cloud services like Dropbox and OneDrive. That list really needs to be expanded, because having a convenient way to store offsite backups, meaning somewhere physically far away from your home in case it burns down or something, is an important part of a proper backup strategy. There's also no internal encryption for your data yet. That's not dramatic, but I would personally really welcome an optional local encryption feature. Speaking of encryption and backups, the system actually does a very good job of explaining the different possible drive configurations to new users. I'm running a RAID 5 setup here. That means I have 4 drives, 4 terabytes each, that behave like a single volume. You don't get the full combined capacity of 4 times 4 terabytes, which would be 16 terabytes. The usable space ends up at roughly 10 terabytes. That's because the rest is used for parity data, so if one drive falls, you can replace it and the array rebuilds itself without losing data. The maximum supported size is 120 terabytes, by the way. You could also run the drives in single disk mode. That's cheaper and simpler, but obviously less safe. You could also start with a single drive and expand later as your storage needs grow. Transfer rates are also good. The NAS has a 2.5 gigabit network port. My router doesn't support that yet, so it's currently running at 1 gigabit, which gives me transfer speeds of roughly 110 megabytes per second. This problem can be solved for just around $50 though. Believe it or not, I also had this nice little UGREEN switch on my list before they contacted me. It's cheap, has 4 2.5 gigabit ports and a metal casing. That's all you need to connect several devices at high speed. With that in place, I'm getting roughly 290 megabytes per second from the RAID 5 array, which is more than enough for everything I do, including video editing. So overall, I'm really happy with this small NAS system along with the switch. I also don't mind the plastic housing. In my books, full metal NAS builds are only really needed in a professional environment where you swap out drives more frequently. Units like this usually get installed once and then left alone until you need more space. The software is good, everything is convenient to set up and use. I think you really can't go wrong with the DH4300 Plus. At the moment it sits around 380 euros, which isn't cheap, but in my view totally reasonable for what you get. If you want to save some money, there still is the DH2300. Links are all in the description below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.